You got to stay calm. You got to be rational, and you have to really, if you understand, like in a real sense, that we are on top of a giant pyramid that's been building for about 90 years, since 1933, 1934, and the base of that pyramid is gold and silver. It's not CBDC. It's not some new thing, right? When this pyramid all comes down, the only thing that will be left is gold and silver. Just like every single time there's a financial calamity and human society has to rebuild itself, we say gold and silver has maintained its value throughout time. This is why, because it's the base of every pyramid that every human society has ever built, and it's not going to change this time. So get your physical now, and you'll be part of the team that rebuilds civilization. I mean, we're not under Bretton Woods anymore, in the sense that the dollar is not redeemable for gold, but we still have the skeletal structure of what Bretton Woods was, where it set up every other currency as subordinate to the dollar, and we're still in that system. But we're towards the end of it, and then we don't have a skeleton of that system anymore, and we're back to gold and silver, which means the entire structure of production of the entire planet has to be realigned, which is possible. Just it starves a lot of people, and it makes a lot of people rich and a lot of other people poor. On this news, I take a position that most gold bugs would not take. I don't think this is significant at all. It might be. I'll give you like one way that it could be significant. Because I'm not sure if these countries that are doing this deal really think they're getting out of dollars, or if they think this is just the first step to getting out of dollars. It's not completely insignificant, because I mean, what is the yuan? The basic question is, okay, so they're doing a deal in yuan. Let's assume that they are. Fine. What's the yuan? Right? The yuan is a dollar. Why is the yuan a dollar? Because the yuan has exchange rate windows with the dollar. And why do they have those exchange rate windows? Because China and the US have this enormous amount of trade that if that exchange rate goes out of whack, then China's economy is ruined and the US economy is ruined, at least how they appreciate the economy now. Right? At least let's just say it changes, and then neither of them want change because they both profit off of this. So the yuan is the dollar. So if they finish the deal in yuan, practically whoever gets that yuan in China is going to convert it to dollars immediately anyway, because that's what they do. So they're not getting around the dollar. They're pretending to. And what they are doing is creating a scaffolding or a possible system to settle in a different currency, which could theoretically be gold or silver, if they wanted it to be. But so this scaffolding, I guess, might be significant, but it might not. I don't even know. The only way to get around the dollar, again, what I said was that every other currency is basically a dollar substitute, because dollar is the base currency of all currencies in the post-Bretton Woods reality that we live in. So you can't get around the dollar by going on top of it in the extras pyramid. If you have gold, dollar, other currencies, treasuries, stocks, real estate, etc., right? So you can't get around the dollar by going on top of the dollar. You have to get around the dollar by digging underneath it. The only thing that's underneath the dollar is gold and silver. So if China and France traded in gold bullion or something, or a 100% convertible gold receipt currency, then that would be getting around the dollar. But that would necessitate a humongous restructuring of both the French and the Chinese economies. Neither of them want to do that, so they want to pretend they're getting around the dollar without actually doing it. That's what they're putting on a show. It would mean a massive loss of wealth for anyone who holds a bunch of treasuries, which is mainly China. I mean, if they start trading in gold and don't use the dollar anymore, the real value of their treasuries goes to very little, if not zero. They lose all that wealth, meaning all the profit that they've been building up with these trade deficits from the U.S. and trade surpluses to China is going to be worth nothing. For the U.S., who can't, or anyone who trades with China, imports from China, and they can't pay in their currencies anymore, then they can't import from China. So China has all this stuff that it doesn't know what to do with, and other countries have all this debt that is now canceled. It's basically that is a reset. That's the reset that people throw that word around, reset. Reset's going to be on the public's terms. So how do you restructure everything after that? You got to start again from the beginning, and the people that have the gold, the countries that have the gold, will have the most claim on the stuff that remains, and people without any gold, without any silver, will have the least amount of claims on the stuff that remains, and so they'll be the poorest, and the countries with the most gold will be the richest. So just make your choice. Assuming the government doesn't just steal everything, that could happen. So I mean, but even countries that can produce a lot, if they don't like hold some of it in their country now, then what are they going to spend in order to dig it out of the ground? Like Venezuela is an oil-rich country, but like so what? They don't have any money because they've exported everything, so they can't dig it out of the ground. So they have oil shortages. You can say the same thing about gold. Like just because Canada has a bunch of gold in the ground, they don't have any gold in their central bank, so the Canadian dollar will be worthless. So what are they going to spend in order to dig more of it out of the ground? You could say maybe that the companies have some store of gold with which to pay people to dig more of it out of the ground. Fine, maybe. But then maybe Trudeau, that psychopath, will just, I don't know, steal from all the gold producers. I don't know what he'll do. He could do anything. This guy's really scary. So the freest countries that allow their companies to do what they need to do, and who have a lot of gold stores in order to pay workers to continue to produce money to enable division of labor, right? What does money do? Like, why do you need money if you don't have food? Like, people ask me that question, like, what's the good of gold if you don't have any food to eat? Well, gold allows you to divide labor so that food producers can produce food. If they can't divide labor because they have no money to divide labor with, they can't produce food. So you need a division of labor before you have anything else. That's the answer.
Yeah, which is important. So if we go to today, we mentioned that, I think you mentioned recently that JP Morgan put millions and millions of ounces of sort of silver for sale. There's been lots of sales. The price seems to keep going down and down. What's sort of your thoughts on, I guess, silver and other precious metals prices at the moment? And, obviously they'll go up once this thing happens, but what's your thoughts, I guess, in the next 6 months?
Next 6 months? This could be over by the next 6 months. I don't know. But when we're talking about when JP Morgan put a bunch of silver for sale, these things happen from time to time, and exactly who they're selling to, we don't know. I just mean they moved it from storage to the registered category. So if they're short, if JP Morgan is short some silver contracts and they have to deliver against that, then they need that silver in the registered category so they can transfer the warrant to some other player. So the silver in the COMEX has been falling for 3 years now. Since Silver Squeeze, it's been falling. I think we're now at 279 million ounces, but a lot of that belongs to the SLV ETF. I think over 100 million belongs to it, and some of it is privately owned. So how much silver is actually left to deliver against contracts, I don't know. My guess is like something like 100 million ounces or so, and that could be drained pretty quickly. We'll see. But where silver is going, well, if I think in the near term, if gold can close this week, at, its highs of the highest weekly close that gold closed was about 2028. So if gold can close around there, which is about $30 from where we are now, and silver can close it around 24.50, which was the area that it was in January, then I think on Monday we could have a big gap up with some kind of other banking news or something. But what I've been noticing is that every time there's banking news, the precious metals go up, not down. In 2008 and 2020, the metals went down with bad financial news because it was deflationary. But now it's the opposite. So we're starting to see the loosening of the system. It's starting to come apart, and that deflationary news of a bank collapsing is now leading to gains instead of losses. So that keep watching that. You could have this sort of situation regarding Deutsche Bank and its derivatives, where it's not that people make a conscious decision, okay, we have to stop trading paper and we have to go to physical commodities instead. And you would imagine like people all of a sudden they just realize like paper isn't worth anything, and we have to get the physical stuff. I don't think it's going to happen that way. It could. I'm not saying it won't. But I'm seeing something more mechanical, like some kind of failure in the paper system where open interest in the paper that represents these physical just suddenly collapses and contracts very quickly, and then in that way, in sort of a domino effect, mechanical, mechanistic way of shrinking open interest in commodity markets, then you'd have the physical supply and the paper supply sort of coming into balance again. It doesn't have to necessarily be some rational decision by a bunch of market actors, more than just something toppling over, which we saw in 2020. We saw open interest in commodities really fall, and we saw in nickel the same thing in March 2022. So we could see something like that. It could all just be mechanical and nobody really realizing why it's happening. It just happens.